Hi, y'all. It's me, Z. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the Director of Youth Outreach for the Future Perfect Project. We at the Future Perfect Project believe that the self expression of LGBTQ plus youth is a declaration of a better future for us all. We do this by providing free arts programming to LGBTQ plus youth and allies, and Junior has just arrived. Our guest tonight will be Junior Mintt, the self-proclaimed drag preacher, this brilliant, brilliant human being who's joined us for workshops before. And let me see if I can add you in. All right, Junior. Yes! Junior, hello. How are you? It's so nice to meet you.
It's fantastic to meet you too. I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am having a great night. It's so funny. I was very leveled, and now like my fangirl moment has just come on. I just know you through the Future Perfect Project, and we love you and the work that you've done with us, and we're so grateful to have you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
of course, it's my pleasure. So just so everyone that's watching knows, we are the Future Perfect Project, and we believe that the self-expression of LGBTQ plus youth is a declaration of a better future for us all. We have our wonderful, wonderful guest, Junior Mintt, with us this evening. We're going to talk queerness, we're going to talk life, we're going to talk drag, we're going to talk activism. It's going to be a beautiful conversation. And let's just start with how we introduce ourselves in our workshops, which you might remember. Our names, our pronouns in a sentence to describe how we're feeling and where we are. So
Yeah.
my name is Z. They are feeling E in Roselle Park, New Jersey.
Yeah. I'm Junior. She is feeling oh, hydrated. I'm very hydrated. Very, very hydrated. And in Brooklyn, New York, happily.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a beautiful way to just begin our discussion. Hydration. In terms of self-care, in terms of self-love, we talk to our queer youth a lot about that, and a lot about what it is to be queer and to love ourselves. I'm wondering if you can talk to me a little bit about what self-care and self-love means to you.
For me personally, self-care and self-love is one of the deepest forms of self-respect that you can show yourself. Because one of the things that society never really teaches you is how to prioritize yourself. Oftentimes, personally, I found that I can put myself on the back burner for so many amazing causes, and then realize that, like, oh, well, I'm burnt out, so who can I actually give anything to when I'm not actually giving to myself? And so self-care and self-love is something that I think is so essential to what every single person needs to be self-reflecting on, and as well putting effort into their everyday life into, because not only making sure that you're like actually doing self-care and self-love every day, but also making sure that you're loving the version of yourself that you are now and not the version that you were yesterday, because we all grow and evolve.
I so love that. And I just want to take a moment truly to acknowledge how grateful for you and your time I am. Thank you already for just dropping some powerful love into the universe. This is how we manifest a greater, a more perfect future. And you are just such a shining example of that. I'm wondering, of course, as an artist, how do you feel like you interweave this self-care, self-love into your work as an artist?
Well, it's really easy for me to weave it into the art that I create, mainly because I've realized that for me personally, um, getting to actually care and mother for things is a form of like self-care for me. And I've realized that I've always honed my mothering skills on other people and never actually use them and hone them on myself. And I once I began to actually create art, I began to realize that it was a way of mothering myself. And so for me, my art is my self-care, because not only is it a moment for me to truly reflect on how I feel, truly reflect on what emotions I'm currently present in, and as well connect to what my community may want to hear me say, but as well what I think my community needs to hear. And so for me, my art and my self-care is so interwoven in so many elaborate ways that if you really see my art, you see not only the love of me like feeling rejuvenated from my art, but also the natural struggle of like me trying to grow as a person. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, for me, it's really interwoven because I do like drag mixes, I do motivational speeches, I do just a myriad of things.
Right, right. Could you talk to us, because you are a self-proclaimed drag preacher?
Yes,
I
yes,
love that. I love
yes.
the idea of, and what you're saying about mothering and nurturing, right? That like
Mm-hmm.
what we do in this community as queer people, and when we love each other, when we express that. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that expression of that love and that sermon for so to speak is for you?
Absolutely. For me, when I my drag shows and what all of my favorite queer spaces were before the pandemic, for me they were all church. Like for me, I was raised Black Baptist in the South, and so for me, I grew up in a church where if there is any two like-minded people in the same space with a kind, loving heart, God is in the space. And so for me, it's no different than when two queer people get into the same space who are just filled with so much love and connection that is rooted back to Stonewall, to Marsha, to Sylvia, and to all of our other ancestors. So for me, going there was something like I was going to a temple. For me, that's why like I love getting to perform in clubs and nightclubs and spaces like that, because it's spaces that are safe havens for queer people, for trans folk, for everybody. And usually for me, I always would notice when people were on the mic and truly speaking from their hearts and truly speaking to their community, and when people on the stage weren't. And for me, I realized about like a year into doing drag, when like basically after I would get off the mic, people would come up to me and be like, "Who? Okay, you just gave us a sermon. You took us to church today." And it was something that I realized that like, oh wow, I really am like a pastor and a minister in terms of not only preaching something that is helpful and prompts evolution and growth in my community, but on top of it, speaks to a higher power, which is honestly love, individuality, truly embodying who you are. Because I think that whatever higher form of being you believe in, whether you believe there is something, multiple somethings, nothing at all, whatever it is, we all believe in something. And that same human belief in something bigger, in ourselves, in love, in growth, and all of those things are things that honestly we all can get in touch with and grow better and together through. And so yeah, that's what like preaching is to me, and that's what I think I do every time.
What was the moment when you, for instance, right? We talk to a lot of queer youth through our workshops, and we have vibrant discussions about what it means to be young and queer in the world today. I'm wondering what were those early moments for you, those formative moments for you, where you started to connect your queerness with your spirituality?
Well, it was honestly, it was very early on because I didn't have the language for anything, of course, but I just knew I was like different. And then it was like around seventh, eighth grade that I realized, like, oh, wait, hold up, wait a minute. I'm definitely gay. And it was one of those things where honestly, like, one of the closest memories that I always hold to my heart is I remember being like, seventh grade, and I was like in bed crying because I just couldn't fathom what my life was going to be like, because all I heard about was HIV and AIDS and all of the stigmas and all of the things. And I remember that so vividly because it was one of those moments where like I think that I just had to stop. Like I could no longer try to plan out what my future and my life was going to be like. And it was one of those moments where like you really take agency over your own life in terms of like, well, okay, I don't seem to be exactly what anybody wanted me to be. So I guess that gives me license to be whoever the hell I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the real moment that like I distanced myself a bit from spirituality until college, when I was separated from my family and I was separated from like all of the traditional religion that I'd grown up around. And that's when I really began to understand not only the like God and the Jesus that I was raised around, because my mom was very like, God said love, Jesus said love. He didn't say hate, he didn't say judge. And
Mm-hmm.
so my mom was very loving. And for me, that's even why like I still feel comfortable with church and everything, is because I didn't ever think of it as like, this is God. This is very specific. If you don't fit into these things, I just very much now understand it. And now me and my mom even connect on it in a newer way because we can both talk about what our connection is to like higher beings because I believe a million different things at the same time and believe they're all true. And she believes in one very specific thing. And it's so beautiful for us now to be able to connect because now I just think so much that like you are your own God. You are the image of who you need to be. Build yourself in the image of who you are and who you want to be, all built off of what you want. And it's so funny how that overlaps with what my mom believes too. And so it's been a beautiful winding process of getting to self-determination and spirituality. But it's something that I realized once you determine it for yourself, you've nailed it. Just stop trying to go by any guidebook or anything that anybody else has told you. Whatever you believe is what you believe, and that's beautiful.
Mm.
Especially when it comes to something that's intangible like religion or spirituality.
Yes, I can so relate. I had so many hangups about being queer and being a spiritual person, and what you just shared just sort of it helps to recognize that like we have the power to lift that veil of what's been told to us, right? That like we
Mm-hmm.
have power in and agency in our identities as queer people and spiritual people. It's taking that power and reclaiming that power that is, the outside forces seem to have agency over when really we are the ones who maintain that sovereignty over ourselves and our spirituality. I'm wondering
Yeah.
what the most joyous part for you right now is of being a queer artist. Where are you finding that joy, that spiritual life, that vibrancy in your queerness as an artist?
Honestly, it's the biggest joy comes from getting to explore myself because I've realized the best gift you could ever give to yourself is to keep digging deeper into who you are because who you are will only inform your perspective on your community, your society, everything around you because the whole world around you right now, your friends, all of that are things that you have crafted for yourself. You have found these friends, been connected to them, and then the moment you begin to understand why these people are the people you're connected to is the moment that you can begin to cherish it all in a newer way. And I say that because I've been cherishing people and things in such a new, beautiful, nuanced way that I've never experienced, where because I've gotten to know myself as a Black trans woman in a new way, this pandemic has really pushed me into a newer form of myself. And it was the moment that I began to really have those deep questions and those deep philosophical moments with myself that I began to get to understand myself. And then I realized how so many people in my life are so much closer to me than I even realized because in moments of my deepest distress, those were the people who I wanted to talk to about things. And
Mm-hmm.
I would have never understood that unless I put myself in the uncomfortable position of being like, well, how do I feel? What am I going through right now? So it brings me a lot of joy to consistently get to create art and discover things about myself that I don't even know because yeah, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than that. You'll understand your relationships in life. You'll understand your work better. You'll understand your passions better. It has been mind-boggling how much me focusing on me has really caused me to understand myself more.
Mm-hmm. It ties back to the whole conversation we're having about self-care, the intersectionality, I think, of our queerness, our spirituality, or whatever that might mean to you. Whether, like you said, whether that's a supreme being or nothing at all, right? Or love. I love that you put it that way. If we can all believe in something, we can believe in love. It really makes me just wonder, because I love talking about chosen family.
Yes.
Wondering, like, because I have it, been blessed with a family that's supportive and loving. A lot of us in the queer community don't necessarily have that, and I'm wondering for you. I loved you talking about your mom and the relationship that you have with your mom. That's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like chosen family element been like for you? And how did you find
Oh.
that? How would you show young queer people where to look?
Honestly, chosen family is the only reason I've really gotten at like the language for who I am, gotten to discover who I am because it's like my family was like all amazing, sweet, loving people, but they're all cis, straight. I don't know a single queer person of my family in any branch of any family. So for me, I'm literally the only one. And so for me, it was something where like my chosen family, without them, I literally would have had zero guidance in terms of who I am because the moment I went to college was the moment that I was able to like form a group of friends because, mind you, I went to high school. I had to travel 2 hours to my high school every morning and night. So it was like, there wasn't hanging out with people in high school either. It was like, I went to school, did extracurriculars, and I had to go home in time to be asleep. And so college was the first time I got to like, oh my God, this is what it's like to hang out with people. This is how you actually like get to hang out with queer people. And I realized that the best way to find your chosen family is literally just by experience. Because as like someone who was just new to discovering things, it was just simple like, I don't even, you'll have to, people had to break down tops and bottoms to me because it's like, no one explained this. It seems very obvious the first time you hear it. And then you're like, oh, and understanding the dynamics within queerness and the queer community in terms of like drug use. I was not used to drug use that happens in the queer community that goes on. And I was blessed enough to have like sensitive people who were my friends who were like, they did the drugs, but they were like, oh no, we're not pressuring you into this. It's okay. Like people who really like completely understood my boundaries and everything. And as well gave me a moment of like truly seeing a side of nightlife that like you only really discover in college. So
Mm-hmm.
chosen family is something that is very particular and will very much affect you just like any other family. So it's the type of thing where I always tell anyone who is discovering their chosen family, just remember that every relationship in your life is there for a reason and a season. And that is something that my mom always said growing up. It was a Southern Black phrase. And it's like, every relationship may not be there forever, but it always has a reason for being there. And it's up to you to decide when a relationship has run its course. And there's no bad thing about a relationship running its course. That is literally how life happens. Relationships run their course, you learn something from it, and then you grow and you move. And that is something that I've grown to appreciate about all of my chosen family, is that even chosen family who I haven't seen in years from college, if I saw them on the street, it would just be like, what's up? Because there's a level of, I think, disattachment in terms of the queer community because we understand that things are so fluid. People need to go places. You may not see this person for another few years. And I love that when it comes to chosen family, especially in the queer community, it is something that goes beyond tangible time together. Because you'd be surprised the amount of support you can give to another queer person through a text message, through a FaceTime, through an email. And yeah, chosen family, everything to me. Everything to me.
So what I love is that you really talk about when you were discussing chosen family, you talked a lot about your firsthand experience. So like openness, you said the best way to find chosen family is through experience. And I love that. I'm wondering like if I had a photo of you in high school right here, and I was like showing this to you, you know, this moment from RuPaul's Drag Race, I'm having that moment with you right now because you are the winner right now at life. I'm wondering like what is the piece of love or what words would you want to give that version of you in high school today from the woman that you become now?
Oh, that's easy. It would just be fully just go for it. Just go for it. Because the thing that I've realized in my journey as to getting to where I am is the reason I got this far and I get to do what I do and the reason I get to even like sit here right now with you is I have genuinely navigated this world with kindness and love. And that has been my connection to so many people. And like when I tell you down to, I had a professor in college who after like a semester there, she realized that I was paying for it all myself. I didn't have like really family support and everything. And I'm getting emotional right now because I love her, Mary Harkins. And after she saw it, she not only wrote into financial aid and got me the maximum amount of financial aid and another scholarship. She also offered to like for me to store my things in her house over the summer because she knew I couldn't afford to like store it. And it's like things like that that just remind me of like, even in my most naive moments, the kindness and the love that I had taught me so much, like so much because yeah, kind souls always find kind souls, always. And it has never let me down yet. Hasn't given me pain, but everybody got pain in their life. And that's the thing that I realized is no matter what the pain is, I'm always so thankful that I move with nothing but kindness and love because, yeah, I wouldn't trade a single second of the life for anything else. I wouldn't trade a single second of it because, yeah, I have so many lessons, I have so many memories. And on top of it, I was always true to myself. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I would just say go for
Yeah, go for it.
it.
I'm wondering
Very
to
hard
take
thing.
that like beautiful word, those beautiful words of just go for it. And what are you today? Like, what are you saying to yourself? I'm gonna go for this. What is that in your life right now? You know, as we reflected on like what you're doing, what's bringing you joy, like what is that artistic pursuit right now that you're going for?
I am currently it, going for everything. And I say that because after I just came out of like about 3 months ago, came out of a really deep depressive spell. And it has been something that has been transformative. It has been amazing. I've seen myself in a new light like I've never seen myself before. And I'm going forward in every single thing that I've been ever passionate about. So like I've just recorded a song. I wrote a song, recorded a song. It was absolutely amazing and a cathartic process. And with that, me and an amazing friend of mine, we're collaborating on like a small limited sample of makeup that we're going to be selling as well, along with the song. Yeah, it's like I'm really just because I've always done music. I was first chair flautist in school. I love music growing up, all of the things. Always used to rap too. And so that was a whole piece of me that I kind of like pushed down and like didn't necessarily think about too often. And then I was like, well, why aren't you doing it, Junior? Why aren't you doing it? And these are the moments where like in the past 3 months, I just like texted a great musician friend of mine and was like, let's do this. Let's get on this. Let's do this. It's done. It's like currently getting edited and everything. It's amazing. Um, I am working on a coffee table book. I'm working on a book of essays that I've been writing. Yeah, just believing in myself and actually going for it and actually just fully go for it.
Yes, Mama, you are an entrepreneur. That is
Yes.
so inspiring. That is so thrilling. Wow.
Right.
Just
I
the
try.
drive. You know, I can relate to the sort of knowing what it's like to come out of that depressive spell, or not even just to come out, but to be like to be working through that. You know, it's like
Yes.
'cause, you know, it was said to me, serenity does not imply a life without chaos. It means having the courage and the strength and the wisdom to go through that that
Yeah.
chaos, to have to know when to ask for help, to or to be willing to ask for help.
Yes.
And I think that's so important to carry on as we, you know, as we build this bond together tonight, which I'm
Exactly.
so grateful for. I just, you know, you are such a kind light, and Celeste said this earlier. You are a higher being. You already are. You are such divine. You are divinity in and of itself.
Thank
Um,
thank you.
of course, it is my pleasure to from one heart to another. One question that we always ask our guests is, you know, what advice do you have for queer youth in high school right now, for the young people who are, you know, virtual, who are hybrid, who are, you know,
Yes.
just trying to figure it out, and queer?
Yes. I would say to any queer youth, the best thing you can do is listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. You are right. You are honest. You are real. What you are feeling is completely real. It is real. You are experiencing exactly what you're experiencing. And you are completely valid in that. And as well, don't let that stop you from being yourself. Find every single possible way that you can be yourself and find every last opportunity that you can to be yourself. Because I know that every single person is a different situation in their household. Some people can push the boundaries in some ways and other people cannot. Find whatever it is and however it is and do it. If it means changing an outfit while you're at school, if that means do like just talking with your friends in like ways that make you feel affirmed, whatever it is, find that way. Because at the end of the day, the whole world is still revolving and you will have an opportunity to get to be a part of that world very soon. Not soon enough, I know, because I was that 13-year-old kid who just wanted to be in Brooklyn, who just wanted to go to New York, who wanted to dance in the club to Bad Romance like every other gay got to. Exact pause up. Like literally when I tell you, I so badly wished for those opportunities. And part of what makes getting to live here and be who I am so proud and out so sweet for me is the fact that I remember so distinctly me sitting there and just being like, I am not going to waste the opportunity when I get it to be myself. And I did not fully get to be myself until I went to college. And so every single youth out there, just make sure that you are finding every opportunity to be yourself in whatever way you can. Whatever way you can. Even if it means drawing like tattoos on your arm and covering it with a sleeve. Because literally, hoes have done that, and I am hoes. I am hoes.
Yes! Yeah. Oh my God, I'm thinking to my sweatbands when I used to like draw under my sweatbands in high school. Oh
Yes,
my God,
yes.
I live for that. So reality. So my next and almost maybe my next and last question.
Oh, that's
For now, last for now, because
yes.
we will meet again. Is what does the perfect future for you look like, and for the world?
A perfect future for me is a future where I get to keep creating. I get to keep delving deeper into who I am and getting to know who Junior is growing into, who Junior used to be, and I didn't know who Junior is right now. While at the same time, I know that in the next, like, probably in the next 10 to 15 years, because that technically counts as the future, I guess. Because at this point, I'm like, what is time? But 10 to 15 years in the future, I know I'm going to have at least one child. I know that I'm going to, like, I'm so excited to mother things in my life now. And I'm so excited for the moment where I'll get to be a mother, which I'm like, down the line, down the line. But for the world, I want a world of Black trans power. I want a world where people aren't terrified to walk outside their door because they're choosing to wear a specific item of clothing. I don't want, I've been thinking more and more about just all of the different anxieties I have felt just in the slightest things of like my being. Going to the laundromat, like what outfit am I going to wear that's going to make me feel affirmed, but also is going to draw the least amount of attention. I want that done with. I hope that every single young person who is watching this gets to grow up in a world where they don't have to worry about the tiny shit that I had to worry about. We're always going to have the big things because as long as we're people, we're going to find issues. We're going to find big conflicts. And I hope that these queer people are the ones that are getting to solve those issues, getting to sit at the table and getting to have their voice be heard. I hope that these are the youth that get to actually be the change makers that we need because the queer youth have always been the change makers that we need. It's just that society has been disenfranchising us from getting to have our voices heard and actually be together. And so for me, I'm so thankful for the work that I've done and the work that every single person I know who over the past year and over the past lifetime have been doing, because the reason we can sit here and have this conversation right now is because a bunch of people fought before we were even alive, before we even took breath. And so I hope that all of the amazing work continues to culminate, and I hope that the youth also continue to open the doors for the youth that aren't born yet.
Mm-hmm. I love that you said that. We were actually segue into sort of what we do with the Future Perfect Project with our workshops. We just had a workshop called Queer Futurity, where we talked about being the ancestors writing letters to queers 50, 70 years from now to hear. That's the kind of work that we do in our workshops. And I know you did a workshop with Celeste and Emma over the summer. And Emma sends her love, and everyone sends their best to you. Yes. So I will virtually send them for you as well. So we continue to have our workshops every Tuesday night at 7:00. You can sign up for our programming by going through our bio here in our link tree on Instagram. You can find us at thefutureperfectproject.com. We have a Discord channel, which if you get involved, you can find, youth can get involved and link into that chosen family, that chosen community that we were talking about today. It's all available and accessible through the Future Perfect Project. So thank you so much for your time, for your love, for your generosity, and for your vulnerability, your willingness to let us in to learn a little bit more about who you are as a person, as an artist. There's just so much love and light that emanates from you and your words. And I'm just so grateful that we were able to have an evening together. Let this just be the beginning.
Yes,
yes, please.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everything that you do. this was amazing, and I'm honored to be a part. And on top of it, this is just the beginning. And yeah, thank you for sharing a piece of yourself. This has been an absolutely beautiful moment. And
Yes.
I don't share myself with everybody. So the fact that I shared myself with you, it says something about you too. So don't forget that this is a mutual thing. So the same thing that you said about me, if you can believe in me, you can believe in you. Okay? Period.
Woo! You're taking me out tonight, girl.
Period. You're amazing.
Woo! The lighting is red. The lighting is red, but so am I. But so am I. Oh gosh. Thank you so much for a great night. You enjoy the rest of yours, and we'll be in touch soon.
Yes, you too. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Ah.
Wonderful.
Bye.